Alabama's got me so upset. Tennessee made me lose my rest. Everybody knows about Mississippi, goddamn.
We find ourselves halfway through the 1960s. 1964 has given rise to one of the most important pieces of legislation in American history due to the involvement of a man with a dream in the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. On the other hand, 1966 is a perfect setting for a group of African American revolutionaries to create the Black Panther Party in response to massive instances of police brutality. Both of these organizations have set equality across America through their own protest techniques. While the SCLC utilizes civil disobedience to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Black Panthers use revolutionary tactics to empower the image of African Americans. How is it that just a few years apart, these organizations changed the standard of protest in the United States? The Southern Christian Leadership Conference is an organization that wanted to continue in January 1957 after the Montgomery bus boycott. Naturally, the SCLC wanted to end segregation in terms of poverty, economic inequality, and voter repression. But through what means?
In terms of protests and segregation, but those methods came in the form of boycotts, it came in the form of sit-ins, it came in the form of marches, it came in the form of wade-ins, but it also came in the form of voter education. So they had citizenship schools to try to prepare individuals to actually go and vote. With these protest marches, actually changed how the federal government started to see segregation and racism in the Deep South. And so it led to things like the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the 1965 Voting Rights Act, later on the Housing Act in 1968. And so they were successful.
On the other hand, the Black Panthers began in 1966 in Oakland, California, their ultimate goal being to end police brutality in the Black community as well as to take care of them, thus ending their exploitation.
Again, having a strong presence in the community, and that's against the police in terms of how they were treating African Americans. That was calling attention to politicians, business owners, and so that was a strong avenue for what they were doing. Also in terms of writing and newspapers and speeches and protesting, they showed a strong force and they brought people with them to have this kind of unified community approach to fighting discrimination, racism within this country. The Black Panther actually changed how the community operated. This idea of having a community that is self-sufficient in terms of bringing attention to the degradation of the Black community and the white power structure as they were listed. By bringing attention to that, they changed that in many instances as well. Right? So yes, they were successful in that. Now, does that mean that that completely ended all the problems that they outlined? No, it didn't. But what it did was to bolster this desire to defend African Americans' rights to exist as human beings in this country.
We can then see a shift in the techniques utilized by the two groups over time. While the SCLC relied on boycotts, sit-ins, marches, and wade-ins, the Black Panthers ultimately policed the police, integrated resources to the Black community through food and clothing programs, and above all, theorized their ideology through writings, speeches, and nonviolent protests. Interestingly, however, both groups never stopped educating their community through voter education programs, newspapers, speeches, and most importantly, leading by example.